This is Don't Panic, episode number 380, recorded February 12th, 2024. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Don't Panic, the technology podcast on gadgets, the internet, and you. I'm Sean Jennings, joined by two guys who only watch the Super Bowl for the commercials. It's Stan Miller and Colby Rabideau. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hello, Sean.
I don't even watch the Super Bowl for the commercials. Not even the commercials got me to watch the Super Bowl this year.
Nothing was compelling you.
No. I would have well, I don't know. I don't think I would have watched it even if it was easier. But I didn't want to go on the verge and go to like, here's how I watch the Super Bowl. Like, sign up for your free Paramount Plus trial and then blah, blah, blah. I was like, it's not worth it. I read a book. You know what I did? I read a book.
Boo this man. Boo. There is a tech angle, Dan. Do you know anything about the Nickelodeon broadcast
Television
of the Super Bowl
network? No, I didn't know about that.
So Nickelodeon is doing this thing now where they simulcast on Nickelodeon for kids. And so they do like crazy effects and all this kind of stuff, but they actually took Tom Kenny, who voices SpongeBob, and then the guy who voices Patrick, whose name I don't remember, and they strapped, essentially, it's an iPhone on a stick in front of their face, and it tracks all their facial movements. And so I'll see if I can share my screen here, and you can see an example of it. But they were, in real time, SpongeBob and Patrick were commenting on the game.
What? That's so cool.
And so let's see if you can see that. So they're on the right are the characters. I have it muted, I think. But you can see. Let's skip ahead to where there's some Nick action. Oh, here. So they have like here's Christian McCaffrey scoring his touchdown, and you'll see they have slime cannons that go off and shoot like fake slime into the end zone. And they do all this for kids. It's wild. I'm gonna see if they get any more of the. Oh, they got Sandy there from SpongeBob doing sideline commentary. They do like all these 3D effects and stuff. It's crazy.
Wow.
It's aggressively produced, and then they have Patrick and SpongeBob live commenting throughout the broadcast. So
I want to go back and watch that.
I should have said, I knew somebody told. Oh, I think it might have been Matt. Somebody told me they're like, I'm watching the Nickelodeon one, and I'm like, that's probably smart.
That's awesome. Wow, dedication.
Indeed. What else is going on, guys? Listen, we got a lot. We got the Super Bowl. Valentine's Day is this week, in case you forgot, for your significant others. It's Black History Month. I'm sure we'll dig into that one. What else is going on, guys?
So, when was the last time we had a show?
It wasn't that long ago. 2 weeks ago?
Was it 2 weeks ago?
Or was it even last week?
And neither of you two revealed that you had to actually purchase an Apple Vision Pro, or did we already talk about that?
Well, listen, just because the police officer pulled me over, it's technically not illegal in Massachusetts to wear one while driving. And I just want to make it clear, I don't care what the body camera video showed, I did not assault him. Okay? I thought I was closing an app, and I accidentally punched him in the face. I'm very sorry about that. No, Dan, I haven't. It's funny because the Apple Store is the only reason I ever go to the mall anymore. So, no, I haven't been to the mall lately. Haven't gotten my headset.
Did you take the Apple Vision Pro challenge, Colby?
No, unfortunately.
All right, me either.
Yeah.
But I will be trying it hopefully on Thursday if all goes well. So maybe next week I can report back. But is next Monday a holiday?
President's Day.
Okay, maybe the week after I can report back.
But I guess my question for you, Dan, is this a try-on for fun, or is this a try-on for a serious considered purchase?
This is a try-on for fun that costs $0.
Okay.
Yeah.
You think the Apple Store guys frown on that?
No. You can sign up. Wait, did you not know
But
this?
do you think they'll get like? No, I knew that. But you think they'll like get annoyed? Yeah, at the end they're like, "So do you want to buy?" And you're like, "No." You think they like, "Oh, great, another guy who just wanted to try him on."
I would be surprised if you could. Like, do they? I don't know, because how backward is it now online?
Oh, I assumed it would be like a pre-order or something.
I see.
Do you think they?
Sometimes
they
I
work
forget
on
that the
commission?
Apple stores. Yeah,
I don't think so.
No, I don't either. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just used to being in next to sales, so I overthink these things. But I think after like the fifth guy who's like, "No, I was just trying it for fun," he's like, "Well, is somebody going to buy the headset?"
I do wonder if they let you try it on more than once.
But you live in a pretty hip area, Dan. I would think that they're at least selling some. Have you seen any out in the wild?
I have not yet seen one in person. I was at the company offsite last week, and people were texting people there. So I was 2 degrees separated from people who had them. And I did see a screenshot of the receiving end of a FaceTime call from someone who has the headset on. Which is a very convoluted sentence, but otherwise, no, I have not tried it.
By the way, how was the Valley of the Sun, Phoenix?
Colder than Seattle, raining the entire time.
No sun.
That little almost hurricane that hit California arrived right after we landed and stayed for 3.5 days. So, yeah, it wasn't much. But it delivers March 1st through March 7th, so only 3 weeks out if you buy now.
That's not bad.
But we did get to go to the Museum of... The Musical Instrument Museum is what it's called. I think it's the world's largest collection of musical instruments. It was very cool. They know how to get you, because the first exhibit, you have to go through this one exhibit first before you get to this like rotunda of other exhibits. And that exhibit is the largest instruments in the world exhibit, which is a great opener. So like the double octo contra bass, which comes with a stand and a lever system that you have to do to hold down the strings at the top of the humongous a bass, like a bass violin, a bass. So that was cool. But then also right next to it, they had this glass case, and in the glass case was a guitar case, and in the guitar case was nothing, and the thing underneath said air guitar. But the other parts of the museum were wild, because they have like broken out by continent, I guess. But then the only country that I could not find, I was trying to think of some weird countries. The only country I could not find musical instruments for in this museum was the Faroe Islands. Every other country I checked, they had. Mauritius was the smallest. They had only 2 different musical instruments from Mauritius. So if you're ever in Phoenix, this museum is pretty crazy. We were there for 2 hours. We could have spent 4. Like, the other interesting thing is actually a tech angle. You're given this, you go to museums, you get like the self-guided tour headset, and it has like a keypad, and you're like, I'm in, enter number 53. You don't have to enter anything for this one. As soon as you approach an exhibit, it starts playing the music that the instrument would make. And if there are any TVs, it automatically tunes you into the sound for that TV, which makes sense, because unlike most museums, this museum would be 100% exhibits playing sound all the time. You'd never be able to hear anything if it was just playing over the air. So that was really cool. And as a result, the exhibits are very engrossing. You could visit all of them, and they're interesting to look at. So my favorite one that I saw was somewhere in Africa. I think I took a picture of it. It was, before I get to that, another interesting thing is this museum. If you blindfolded me and then took me into the museum and said, you're in the Dance Museum of the United States, I would be like, there's a lot of musical instruments, but yeah, that makes sense, because every single TV that's showing a musical instrument being played is almost always also showing a dance that goes with that instrument. So anyways, the coolest one I saw was somewhere in some African country, there is an instrument that they are playing, but this instrument is used for the camel dance. And the camel dance is people riding camels, and the camels are dancing in unison with people on top of the camels. It was so crazy. So yeah, Ever in Phoenix, definitely check it out.
That's cool.
Fascinating. Yeah, founded by Bob Ulrich, the guy who essentially turned Target into what it is today, former CEO of Target.
Oh, I didn't know that.
More than 7,500 instruments from more than 200 countries and territories around the world. Very neat.
Wow. Did you see a hurdy-gurdy?
I'm Googling it.
I asked because the other day Laura told me that she wants a hurdy-gurdy.
Yes. In fact, I have seen this instrument played live on 2 separate occasions.
Wow.
Yes. Oh, wait, maybe not. Sorry, I've seen the Swedish cousin of this instrument played twice. I have not seen this one.
What's that one called?
Given that this thing has a Wikipedia article with lots of text on it, I guarantee you they had at least one of these. The Swedish one is called a nyckelharpa.
Oh, look at that.
I have no idea how you play this, but any instrument with a crank is absolutely in my heart.
Yeah.
Which one is that? Oh,
the hurdy-gurdy has a crank.
Oh, yeah. I didn't scroll down far enough to see the crank.
Here, I found a store that will sell you one. Here.
It's only $5,000. What a deal. I could get a Vision Pro.
But this is the full Monty.
It's 3,600 down, Colby. I mean,
this is the premium. The best of the best.
The mother
sound
of all
clips.
hurdy-gurdies.
Oh my god, that's that's like the bagpipe of string instruments.
Yes, it has a drone.
Oh. Oh. You can tell her I said that. Oh. More power to you, buddy. For this week, Colby's picking earplugs.
Now, what you need is an electric hurdy-gurdy, so you can just plug your headphones right into it. Nobody else has to has to hear.
That's smart.
That'll be your next time you have some time off between jobs. You could take up electrical engineering.
Worth it. I like the look of the nyckelharpa, though.
It's very complicated looking.
Yeah, it's very elaborate. It sounds kind of cool.
It doesn't sound like it sounds kind of like a regular fiddle or something. It doesn't sound like it justifies how insanely difficult it seems to play.
Right.
But I guess maybe in the sense it's easier because you just tune where the buttons press down the string and then you're good. I don't know. We need to bring in the expert to talk about this probably.
It does bring up a good question though, and discussion topic, because I'm curious for both of you. Maybe you haven't thought of this. If you could learn any one non-standard instrument, and define that how you will. I'm talking no guitar or piano. Like it's got to be something more interesting. Is there a particular instrument you would choose to like become an expert in?
I have so many answers to this, but I don't know if any of them count as non-standard.
No.
I was going to say accordion. Is that non-standard? I feel like that's not a straightforward instrument.
Yeah. My traditional answer was always cool. French horn, but people in high school play a French horn, so I don't know how non-standard that is.
Fair.
Sure.
What about a Spanish horn?
One time I was somewhere where there was a theremin.
Yeah.
Have you seen those?
Very cool.
So spooky. Was not easy to, well, I don't know. It sounded weird no matter what you did, so.
It seems like it's very sensitive.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that one guy on social media? He's come up my feed a few times where he takes like a sound cue and he plays it on a bunch of different instruments in a row, and he'll be like glockenspiel, ding 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 ding, and then he'll go the the whatever it is, ding 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 ding, the steel drum, boom 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 boom. Like, I love that shit. That's great.
I just saw that video today, like that exact one with the glockenspiel.
It's a guy.
Steel drum.
He does a ton of that. I can hear his voice, like glockenspiel, ding 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 ding. He does a whole bunch of them, by the way. If you're ever really curious,
Nice.
He does plenty.
Nice. I'm like totally blanking on non-standard instruments besides a hurdy-gurdy.
I just Googled weirdest instruments,
Nice.
and the one that's really sticking out to me is the you've heard of the sousaphone, sousaphone. This is the Zeusophone. It's a musical instrument that creates sound, but with a Tesla coil and shooting lightning in all directions, basically. Now that would be cool.
Wow.
I'm sure it sounds great.
I want to click play on it. Let me see. Oh, it sounds like a sound effect from a 1960s Doctor Who episode.
That's cool. I kind of like the I don't know if it's like Chinese or something. It's like a stick with like one string and like a bow of some kind. And it seems very hard to play, but I think it sounds kind of cool. I don't know what it's called.
Shit, what is that called? I was just thinking about this the other day when it was like Lunar New Year.
Yeah, like there's always someone in like the park playing one, or like the subway.
The Urhu, is that what it is? Yes.
Urhu. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Like that. Chinese fiddle.
Speaking of fiddles, we could go all Americana. I will learn the washboard. Colby, you can learn the jug. And Dan, you could do like a banjo or something, and we could just be an old-timey backwoods music group.
That could be fun.
That sounds great.
Seems
feel like
I'm sure there's I'm like, oh, how hard could it be to learn to do the jug? And I'm sure there's some like jug expert out there who's just sneering at me.
Well, actually,
I've spent my whole life dedicated to learning the jug.
That's one of the amazing things about humanity.
right?
People will go to these lengths.
Banjos are funny. I always forget that the one string on the banjo doesn't go the whole way.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like there's one the extra string doesn't go all the way to the top. It has its own little peg halfway down.
I always like the little finger picks for banjos. I always thought that was neat. Look dangerous.
Ow!
They look sharp.
My finger.
Just don't pick your nose. Excellent. So, anything else good, gentlemen?
No. I spent the last week only basically doing what could be classified as our main topic.
Absolutely, Dan. What a segue master.
Traveling.
Yes. Well, we were debating what we were going to talk about tonight. I am going to Las Vegas in 2 weeks for my big trade show.
I'm sorry.
You know what? I go to Vegas once a year, and I don't mind it.
Oh,
now, I go for 7 days. That's too long, and I certainly don't need to go more than once. But I do actually like it there. It doesn't... And it's good going on the company dime because I get to spend their money at nice restaurants. That's really the only reason I go is the food. And the food is very good.
Sure.
That makes sense.
But I thought about it. We've all traveled a lot. Dan, you especially so. And, you know, travel has changed a lot, and I'm always looking for new ways to make travel better, less miserable, more organized, whatever you want to call it. And technology, and just in a broad sense, plays a big role in that. And I thought we could swap some stories, share some expertise, maybe learn something from one another, maybe some things I can take on my trip, the folks listening at home can take on their future trips. I think we're understandably almost experts in this field at this point.
Okay. I propose we start chronologically in how one embarks on a plane. And let's just restrict it to purely the act of traveling. Let's pretend you already know where you're going. So the first step is buying plane tickets. What is your process for buying a plane ticket? You using a website? You're a United boy. You just go straight to United every time. What's going on?
I usually go to like Google Flights first. I feel like that's the thing of choice. It used to be, man, what was that? Hipmunk? Was that the one?
Kayak, Hipmunk.
Hipmunk,
that was the one I used to use. Which
Good
I think
times.
is defunct now, right?
Someone bought them. Maybe it was Google. Somebody bought them. Yeah, I do the same. Google Flights is a great starting point to at least kind of see what's loosely available. I will give you guys a website. You might not know this one. Momondo.com.
Momondo.
M-O-M-O-M-O-N-D-O. Momondo.
Yep. Momo NDO.
It's a great site, and what I love about them is they find lots of good deals in places, but it's also one of the most comprehensive all airline searches I've ever found. And so when I'm, if I'm looking for something generic and I'm not picky, Google Flights or, whatever, but if I'm looking for something really specific, I use Momondo.
What would you be looking for that's very specific?
It is a lot of flights at certain times or looking, like I said, what's nice is they have all the airlines, so which Google Flights does not. And so they will find more obscure stuff you didn't know existed, or they'll like match up different airlines, like you fly one on one leg and a different one on the other, or they have really great pricing graphs. It's to me just a more detailed Google Flights for kind of the data side of it, where you can kind of, the filters are a little more aggressive.
Okay.
But I usually end up booking through the airline website.
I see you can filter out any Boeing 737 MAX 9 flights on
That's very smart. Airbus all the way. Dan, what about you?
I use Google Flights. I used to use Hipmunk. Now I use Google Flights. I don't love it. The calendar view is nice if you're being flexible about when you get to a place, being able to see that the price is you save $300 by flying on Thursday instead of Friday. That's helpful to know. But I'm not a power user really. What is the one that everyone says you should use? That's like the what's that? Like what's that website that everyone says you should use for weather? It's like the government.
Oh, is it the ITA Matrix?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, which is very good, by the way. So that's, believe it or not, Google bought the ITA Matrix, and that's what powers the Google Flights. But if you go directly to ITA Matrix, it's like the back-end search. And that also does a really good job for detailed flights, in my experience. I always forget that's there. The only thing is you can't directly book through there. Like, there's an extra hoop you have to jump through to get to the site to purchase. But otherwise, it works well. My experience.
What was this before it was owned by Google?
I think it was like, it's very strange where it was like a third-party service that was like the software backbone for the airline industry. Like, they're the ones who first made it possible to like buy tickets online and then Google bought them, and all the airlines were freaking out like, oh, Google's going to turn off our access, and Google's like, no. So I still think all the airlines still use it. It just, Google owns the data.
That's a good name.
Smart play on their part.
We should call more things the Matrix. ITA Matrix.
The Matrix.
Don't panic, Matrix.
That's literally what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you guys... I will say I am very obsessive when I'm buying my tickets of seat assignments. So I'm always grabbing my seat the second I buy the ticket and make sure. I even have picked flights based on what seats are available because I need a window and I don't want to be in the back of the plane. But that's an obsessive thing I continue to check long after buying the ticket.
Historically, no, but Lena has introduced me to the exit row, which is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But it's basically a cheaper way of flying, even better than premium economy, as long as you don't mind having to get up and open the overhead compartment every time you want to get anything. Yeah. So I haven't yet implemented that integrated that thought technology into my system, but I probably should. That's as far as I go, though. I'm an aisle guy, Sean. Because if I get it, especially for longer flights, I don't have to ask anyone's permission to use the bathroom. That's huge.
Well, it's funny because
for that same reason, actually, I don't mind staying in the back of the plane. Because then the time between when you look to see the sign that the bathroom is open and when you actually get there is much less, and you're not standing around like a jackass waiting for someone to get out of the bathroom.
I will say that I am the first. So when you're like waiting at the gate, and there's like those couple people who are like right at like I got to get on the plane as quickly as I'm those guys. Like I want to be first on the plane and I want to be off the plane which is kind of weird because then I end up sitting while everybody's loading, but I'm sat. And then I want to get off the damn plane, and that's why I hate sitting in the back.
We have to save that. We have to save that for the plane boarding section.
I'm getting ahead. Keep us going, Dan.
Yeah. I don't know. Is there anything else on buying? Are we premium economy people? Or are you just buying whatever you risk it on the saver fares?
I usually do.
I mostly travel for work.
Oh, yeah.
It's your first class all the way.
No. No. I am very much economy. Trying to save pennies where I can.
So generous of you, Sean. I feel like if I'm traveling for work and it's over 3 hours, I'm going to do premium economy. Unless someone explicitly tells me not to. I feel like I'm entitled because I would rather stay home than fly for 6 hours. So that's the cost.
Although I don't know if I told you guys this. When I flew back from Seattle, I had an expiring flight credit from a few years ago. They bumped me and I got money from the airline. And so I took first class back from Seattle. And it was... I know why people pay for it. It was so amazing, and I got a breakfast, and everyone was really nice, and the drinks came in real glasses, and the seats were big, and it was luxurious.
Were you lying down? Were you lying down flat?
No, unfortunately not. I mean, it was a morning flight, and I was up anyway, but yeah, it was pretty wonderful.
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so now you've booked your flight. I think the next thing, as it relates to traveling, the act of traveling, is packing. How do you have a system for packing? Are you taking only a carry-on, if at all possible, come hell or high water, or you just say, fuck it, you're just checking it anyways? And I think if you pay for premium economy, that's free, I think, but isn't otherwise, which is annoying.
Used to be...
Oh, Colby.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, not sorry. I used to be like, fuck it, I'm checking a bag anyways. And then one time, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try, doing a duffel bag and I'll throw it up. And I had a great experience that one time. And it was like, oh, I'm doing this every time from now on. And I've done it like 3 times since then or 4 times since then, and it's been like 3 of the 4 times it was horrible. Like, it was like my bag got gate checked and it ended up being a real pain in the butt anyways. Then like you got to the airport and it was like so long waiting for the bag to come out, and I it was slightly more waiting for the plane. It's like suddenly getting on the plane becomes a high stakes adventure because you don't know if you're gonna, you don't know if it's gonna work out, or you're
save it. We gotta save it for the getting on the plane section.
Oh, sorry. Well, it opens the can of worms. But yeah, I guess the point is, in recent years, the last like 4 flights I've taken, I've tried to be a carry-on first person with less than the amount of success I would have hoped for. What about you, Sean?
Yes.
I change over time. I don't really have a set standard. I hate carrying on a bag. It's annoying. It's heavy. There's a really nice feeling when you just grab your backpack or your personal item, you just grab it and go. I'm realistic. Like, if I need to check a bag because it's too big, I just will. Like, I'm not going to like not take enough stuff. It's whatever. I will say I have gotten into gate checking. And that's more on the me being cheap side, where it's like, why would I pay to check the bag when every flight I've ever been on, they ask if anyone wants to gate check it? It's crazy to me. Now, of course, it's got to be a carry-on size, but at that point, I don't know why you would ever pay to check that. And so I do gate check, especially coming home. Going there, usually when I get there, I don't want to do baggage claim. But when I'm coming home, it's like, I got to go get my car anyway. Like, I don't mind waiting a little longer for a bag. I go to a small airport. So I usually gate check it on the way back.
Do they? Because they don't enforce like at TSA that your bag be small. So could you just bring a big bag through? Because
it has to fit through the X-ray machine. I will say, if you've ever put you're not going to get much bigger of a bag than a carry-on.
That's true.
But even if you did, I guess then it would be the airline employee's discretion whether or not to gate check it.
Right.
I don't know. Right. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm similar. Have historically, well, I remember we talked about this on this show because after the 3rd or 5th Mad Max experience of trying to get on the plane, I was like, it doesn't make any sense that things work this way. But since then, if I'm traveling, I don't think I've actually fully implemented this, but I think that if I don't need to be somewhere on the other side, I will always just check the bag. And I'll always do the gate check. So what I'll do, if I don't have a lot of stuff, I'll bring the carry-on, especially if I'm traveling for myself and haven't paid for premium economy. And then I will gate check it every time, especially coming home. But if I'm traveling for work, definitely. Like, who cares? Like, what am I going to do? Get to the hotel room 45 minutes sooner? I don't care. But even if I'm traveling for fun, that's more fun. And so unless it's like, oh my God, if we're landing at 3:00 and then, we only have like an hour or two of daylight, then okay, sure, I'll try to hustle. But otherwise, I haven't actually implemented any of these things yet, but that's my new philosophy.
Yeah, a big thing for me too is a counter service check-in versus a kiosk self-print check-in for a carried bag. Like, if I get there with a plan to check a bag and there's like a line, I'm not doing it. Like, I have a very low tolerance for that. The other thing is when I go to trade shows like this one in Vegas, for example, I bring 2 large checked bags because there's a bunch of last minute stuff that I have to bring. And I've brought drills and I've brought paperwork and all kinds of stuff. And so I will definitely be waiting at the carousel and carrying my 2 very large suitcases with me.
Wow. Okay. How are you packing your bags? Do you have a checklist? Are you just, power puttering around your house, throwing stuff in a bag? Yes. Okay. Sean's nodding.
Yes. No, I used to. When I was traveling overseas all the time, I was like the packing cubes guy, and like, the shirt's got to be folded a certain way. And now that I travel less, I'm not like irresponsible about it, but I just cram everything in there. And I do forget stuff. Last year, no joke, when I went to Vegas, I forgot that, not only do we have the show, I also have to set up and break down the booth. It's manual labor, but I only brought like nice clothes. So I actually had Target Instacart me some t-shirts that I could wear, because all I had were button downs that I didn't want to damage. So it doesn't always work, but no, I don't. If it fits and I can zip it, I'm good. That's my only rule.
It sits.
Nice.
Colby, what about you?
I own packing cubes. I don't use them anymore. I feel like Sean, I have more of a system the more stressful the travel is. Like if I'm leaving the country, I will probably prepare more than if I'm not leaving the country. Mostly, honestly, I probably should do more of a list, because I lately pack way too much. Like I'm overpacking. Like I'll get to the end of the trip and it's like, I didn't wear these like 4 t-shirts, but I like spent time like shoving. Like my bag is so full, like the zipper will barely close. So that's annoying. I always feel annoyed by that. My least favorite part about traveling is deciding how many shoes I need to bring, because I know the shoe cost is so high.
I remember this, Colby. Gosh, I had forgotten about that.
It's so high. Thinking about, well, just like even weight wise, I feel like shoes are the heaviest thing you put in your carry-on, really, especially
that's
leaving.
The nice thing about visiting the West Coast is you only need to bring 1 pair of shoes.
That's great. Yeah. It's like all these other like in between places where it's like, well, do you need
I remember
nice
going to
shoes
New
for
York
night?
Like last Christmas, or maybe it was the one before that, and realizing that like I need to bring 2 jackets. I need to bring the nice winter coat, and I need to bring the winter coat for when it's raining. You can't just walk around with a ski jacket and walk into a nice restaurant in New York. Absolutely not. Nor can you just walk around with Merrell sneakers literally everywhere, which is what I do now when I travel the West Coast. Like summer, winter, doesn't matter. Same pair of shoes. Restaurants, no restaurants, who cares? Nobody cares. Same pair of shoes, which has been great. Bring some sandals if it's going to be hot, if you feel like, and you got the space, but you don't need to. That's a nice place to be.
I have to fly with steel toe boots for safety while building the booth. Seriously, it's a policy. Because we use power tools and do heavy things.
That's the cheapest way to bring them, because then they don't take up space or weight.
If you wear them. Yeah, I don't though. I put them in my suitcase because they're uncomfortable to wear. But I do have to bring them, yeah, that's not fun.
Have your boots ever saved your toe?
Never. Nothing ever comes near my feet. Like I don't do. It's one of those policy things that do I actually? It's like safety glasses as well, where it's like I'm not, like I'm putting in a screw with a drill. Like if I poked my eyes out, something's really gone horribly wrong. So, I almost have had things crash onto me, but I wasn't wearing a hard hat anyway, so wouldn't have made a difference.
Toes are great.
So, for me, since we're running out of time, I'm going to move it along. I used to be a power putterer, and then at some point, I think right before COVID, I realized that you can Google place you're going to space packing list, and someone's written a blog post that used to be humans, now it's probably not. That has like, and the nice thing about doing that is you'll get like things like, oh right, it's Arizona, and maybe I should consider bringing a bathing suit even though it's February. Your brain gets like reminded of these things. However, I always forget the generic things that I should always bring, or at least consider bringing, and don't. So recently, I have implemented the generic. It's more like a decision tree. It's like, will I be flying any red eyes? If so, I need to pack the pillow and the eye mask, because now I have 3 of those because I've forgotten that I have to buy more at the airport. So I have like a lightweight, phone charger, like the stuff I know I'm always going to need. I just have it in the list now, and you can make reusable checklists in the Apple reminders, which I didn't know about. and then I can just run through it, and I know I've thought about the things I need to think about whether or not to bring, and I've definitely brought the things I always have to bring. But nice. Yeah, the most recent trip I did successfully not. Oh no, I forgot the raincoat, because I didn't consult the new spreadsheet. So,
oh man,
that's the thing. Is it definitely going to rain where I'm going somewhere? I should bring a raincoat. Might it rain? Then I'll bring the umbrella. Is there no chance of rain? Then fine, I bring nothing.
That's one thing, not to like pat myself on the back here, but I never make the same mistake twice. Yeah. I make a lot of mistakes the first time I go somewhere, but by the second time I go, Las Vegas was like that, where in February when you go, the first year I went, I didn't bring any kind of like body moisturizing anything, and it's the driest place on earth, and you're inside all the time. And so it's like moisturizer, chapstick, you got to bring all that stuff. And I never did. And the first year I almost died. So that's a valuable lesson to learn.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you think you could ask? Do you think a person could ask ChatGPT to make them a packing list?
Probably. I don't know how good it would do for like the specific places. Like make me a packing list for the Faroe Islands. I don't know.Maybe it would.
Right. Well, go ahead. Give me an example place.
Make me a packing list for the Faroe Islands.
Yeah, there you go. What do you think the Faroe Islands is like now?
I don't know. I'm definitely going to go back at some point in my life. It has to.
I feel like when we went, the sort of like tourist infrastructure was just starting to be constructed. Like there was, I remember so many like sort of like just like partly framed houses on the hillsides or something.
Yeah. I just did it, Sean. It looks pretty good. I think this would be good enough for my purposes of like prompting me to be like, oh yeah, I should think about like socks or, just getting your brain to think in different ways.
Yeah,
are you prompt engineering right now? Is that what's happening?
Well, I was curious because I'm like, yeah, I did the same thing. It's a good list for Faroe Islands, but for comparison's sake, I just said, make me a packing list for Cleveland.
Yeah.
It's saying for each season what you have to bring. It's a lot of similar stuff. Snacks for on the go, hand warmers in the winter. Yeah, I mean, this isn't totally useless.
It doesn't start. So did your Faroe Islands one start with bring a waterproof jacket?
Yes.
Okay, right. So that's like an important thing, and it does get that right.
The Cleveland one says bring brass knuckles. Oh my god, that can't be right. Is that bad?
Oh. Is Cleveland dangerous?
All right, moving on. So you've packed. Now it's flight day. You show up at the airport. So there's, I don't know, is there anything to talk about at that stage? I don't think so. TSA, going through TSA, what's your strategy? Are you pre-check boys? Yes.
No.
Wow.
Along lines only.
Damn. All right. So for whatever reason, I don't know how this happened, but both of my flights to Phoenix and back, I initially had no pre-check, even though I had pre-check. So I showed up at the airport, and thank God I was to show up super in advance. And despite the fact this one departed at 6 a.m., I was still there relatively early. And I had time to go through it still took about 20 minutes to go through the regular security line. And the thing that blew my mind was, I was embarrassed because I was just out of practice with it. I had forgotten a bunch of shit. I only forgot one thing. I actually forgot two things, but they didn't call me on the second thing. I forgot to take my liquids out, and I forgot to take my iPad out. They only called me on the iPad. I don't know what they were doing. Do you not have to take your liquids out anymore?
They don't give a fuck about the liquids. I haven't taken my liquids out in years.
All right. But I was shocked at how incompetent everyone else was in this line. And this is where, God, we were only getting to the good part of the episode at the very end, but this is where I start to have some really strong opinions, because there's this woman and she had a baby, and a bunch of associated crap. You're like, do I need to take this out? Do I need to take that out? And it's like, there should be a separate line for if you have any questions about what you need to do in this line. And everyone there will be very happy to answer your questions. So there should be a separate line for you to attest. I have no questions about what's going on. It's like this is the express checkout lane, and you get three strikes on that lane. If you fuck up 3 times in that lane, your ability to use that lane is revoked for a period of 2 years or whatever. If I were to run for president, this is one of my planks of like real policy changes that would affect real American lives. That would be one of them.
Right. You get like
it was awful.
Every person gets like a security check since last incident count or something.
Right. Yeah.
As long as your number is
something to
like
encourage.
4.
Like if you know that you're good, then you can opt into this process. And if you know that you're not good, then you can do this. And to encourage people to self-regulate in that way.
Right.
Which, again, I don't blame the woman. If I was bringing a baby through, I would know the answer to any of these questions either. And there's no other place to ask them. So why not make a separate place? Why isn't there like a pregame line? Like, here, let's do fake TSA over here. We don't even have a scanner. Just get in line. You can ask me all your questions, and then we'll make sure you're good to go, and then we'll put you in the real line. Maybe we'll even put you through. How about this? We'll even put you through to the front. We'll even do like the clear thing for you. We'll like check your ID. We'll do the slow process, and we'll like get all your baby bottles arranged, and then boom, you go straight to the front. It'll take you more time. It'll save everyone else tons of time, though.
Sean, Sean's just processing.
No, I love it. I was just thinking, like, it's like when you go on a roller coaster and they have the seat out front you can sit in to see if you fit before you go to the roller coaster, so you don't have to wait in line to say. Sure. It's a good idea, Dan. I'm agreeing with you. I think my problem at the airport is I have way too much patience. Like, I don't care that people go slow at the airport. Like, I'm usually there early enough. I rarely run into problems. I'm just a low stress guy in general. And I just, now, of course, I'm pre-checked. Well, I appreciate the credit. But it's also like, I get it. Like, it is confusing. Like, and if you don't, I flew with my mother and she never travels anywhere. And she was all freaked. I told her the one advice I tell her, which is watch the person in front of you. Find a confident looking guy. And if they take their shoes off, you take your shoes off. If he takes his belt off, you take your belt off. Like, that's your best way to do is just watch. That's how you learn. But if someone doesn't know and they slow things down, it's as long as they're not being rude or a total idiot, then it's just part of it.
Here's another thing on that point, which is the people who are most likely to not fly that often are the people in the regular security line. And at every airport I've been to, there's a set of TSA agents who are just shouting at the top of their lungs over and over again, a subset of the instructions that you need to follow. Yes. The ones that are most frequently broken, but not all of the rules. But you have so much, and some of the airports they'll have like, remember the 3-2-1 rule, but they don't have all of them. And if they do, they're spread across multiple signs as you're winding your way through the thing. You're standing in line long enough most of the time that if there were a large sign, like a movie poster size thing, you could read all of it while you are in line. But that doesn't exist. And I suspect the reason is because the rules change day to day. That's my impression, whether the shoes on, shoes off, electronics out, electronics in, liquids out, liquids in. But then that just makes it more confusing because then someone comes back, they're like, well, 6 months ago, they didn't even mention anything about fucking shoes. And now I have to take...
Now, Dan, I'm surprised you haven't gone clear, and not in the Scientology way.
I have.
But you've gone clear. Okay.
Yes. All right. We can move on to my complaints about that system, which is that I've redone my clear thing 3 or 4 times, and still every time it does my eyes, I have to do it. I have to do it 3 times, and then eventually the employee gives up. And I'm like, yes, I told you at the beginning, it never works for my eyes. Recently, they have started letting me just go straight for the fingers, which is a funny sentence. And now my experience with the clear has improved a lot. So anyways, that's clear. Clear does mean if you are in a COVID conscious part of your life, you don't have to take your mask off. That's the number one reason to get clear. Otherwise, it doesn't save you that much time. Am I remembering that correctly? I think that's true. Unless, and to my second complaint, but go on.
No, I was going to give you my pitch to at least improve airport security.
Okay.
So I don't think, because sometimes I go and the pre-check line is longer than the regular line.
You know, what I was just about to say. Yes.
Yeah, and it's the
biggest offenders for this: New York, San Francisco, and Seattle.
Yeah, the place where people have money and travel.
There are more people flying at these airports who have pre-check than do not. And there's only ever one pre-check line, and then there's 5 gates for every. Oh my god!
Yeah. So here's my theory, right? I don't think you can ever fix the line, but I don't think the line's the problem. The problem is that you show up not knowing how much of a line there is. Because if you knew the line was an hour long, you would show up an hour earlier. When you go, my local DMV, I can go on the website literally right now, and it will tell me how long the wait is. I can go to Disneyland's website. It'll tell me how long to wait for each ride. Why can't I go on the airport's app? If checkpoint B, pre-check right now is about 30 minutes, regular security is about 45.
To Seattle's credit, you can do this with the Seattle app.
Okay, yes. There you go.
Which is nice.
I really enjoyed
another thing Seattle does that not all airports do is you can pre-register for a time slot and then you get like free clear.
Yes,
basically.
You were telling me about that. Yes. Yeah, no, they need to do more things like just raise awareness of what the situation is.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
And then the other thing is they got to direct people to the I forget what airport I was in. But it was like everyone was going to one checkpoint, and I was like, I'm not waiting. So I had to walk like half a mile, but there was nobody there. And I'm like, boy, if they just got to do some traffic management.
Yes, and to that point, which ones are currently accepting pre-check and which are not, at least sometimes, I don't know if it's that they vary constantly in Seattle or if sometimes there's only one and sometimes there's 2. I haven't quite narrowed it down. But you never know until you walk up to it which one it is, which also adds to the confusion and the inefficiency.
Bad.
Yeah. Okay, we have like 4 minutes left.
Well, we can continue part 2 on a future episode. We don't have to complete the whole journey today.
That's true.
I know we have so many topics to get through in future weeks.
What you do after you get through security, what any rituals or fun
Dan, the answer to that is the one thing every human being does at the airport, which is walk all the way to your gate to prove it exists, and then immediately leave to do something else.
I've stopped doing that, but I did.
Have you really? That is, it's so funny because I think that's like such a universal thing where it's like you have to go to your gate and you look at the sign, you say, "Yep, that's my plane," and then you like walk away and do something else, which is so funny. I do it all the time.
Yeah, I do that too.
Well, why don't we put a pin in it here? This has been a great line of discussion. I think this is enjoyable. We're going to track the whole story. Who knows how many episodes this will take, but we'll get to the bottom of it. Dan, you said you had a pick. You want to share it this week?
Oh, yes. We've been doing lots of calls with lawyers recently, and lots of information is disseminated, and it can happen very suddenly. And so I was like, I wish there was an app where it would record my calls, and I was like, surely there's like some, cool LLM thingy that'll, something about whisper something. And sure enough, there's this app called, what is it called? I put it in the spreadsheet, but I think that was actually for a past episode. AIKO on the iOS App Store. And it presents a very simple interface. You can import an audio file. You can just click record and start recording, and you can import video. Then your phone gets really hot for a long time, and eventually it spits out the text, and you can export it in a bunch of different ways. You can export it as subtitle files for like movies. So if you have if you're one of those Plex people and you have movies that don't have subtitles, I guess you could do it this way. You can export it as CSV and JSON. You can do text with timestamps and brackets, or you can just do raw text, and then you can share those files anywhere. And it's totally free because I think it just uses the APIs that iOS provides for doing this stuff. It's all on device, no OpenAI mumbo jumbo. It's been very useful. And the transcriptions have been extremely accurate. Way better than like YouTube captions, which is kind of surprising.
Wow.
Now, is there a cost to this?
No. Wow. Like, I think it's just a wrapper around some Apple API that they just ship with iOS. That's my understanding.
My goodness, these people have like a whole bunch of different apps. They have like 100 apps.
I mean, unless all my data is getting stolen right now.
Oh my god, they have an HEIC converter.
There you go.
Yeah, they got a whole bunch of cool stuff in here. This is great. It's I have no idea how to pronounce their company name. Sindre Sorhus.
That might be the person's name.
Okay. Great person. And there's a whole bunch of stuff on here, but I might check this out because they have a desktop version. And maybe I'll try running the show video through it for closed captions on YouTube. That'd be great. Nice. Great pick, Dan. We'll have the link to that on the website. Very nice. I don't have a pick. I do want to mention quickly, though, I have been interested in a while. I bought one of those Remarkable tablets, the e-ink note-taking tablets. It's incredible. It's incredible. I love it. I used to take the world's worst notes on little scraps of paper all over my desk, and it's amazing to write on, and it's very organized, and I'm really enjoying it.
Nice. Yeah, I still use mine all the time.
It's my coworker has like an iPad. He just started taking notes on it, and then I showed up with this thing, and he's like, "Oh, that's cooler." I'm like, "Oh, sorry, bud. Could have been you." Yeah, but you were sleeping. Awesome, guys. Well, as we head towards the end here, I do have to do cross promotion. We are legally obligated to talk about our sister show over at Up for Debate. We just published our Super Bowl prop bets. And for the first time this year, I didn't live tweet them, and Matt was not paying attention, so only I know the results. They're going to be revealed on the episode exclusively. I'm not even going to tease them here. I can't tell you. There is a winner. And for the first year ever, I gambled actual cash on some of these prop bets. Wow. Did I win big? Did I lose big? You're going to have to tune in to find out. And then the week after that is the movie draft. We're bringing the movie league back. These guys are going to be playing. We got a whole crew of people. It's going to be a ton of fun. Check that out at upfordebate.tv or wherever you get podcasts. Just look for Up for Debate, of course. Our show is at don'tpanic.io. We'll have a link to Dan's pick as well as the audio and video for this, and all the episodes will be there. You can get a hold of us, don'tpanicshow@gmail.com. Email us your travel tips. We'd love to talk about them on the next episode. And I think that just wraps us up here. So we appreciate everyone out there being for us. On behalf of Dan and Colby, I'm Sean. Thanks for being here. We're going to see you next time for another great episode of Don't Panic.